Snow Cone Mini One Shot. You should probably know by now I'm not really a angst person, but there needs to be at least one with some real angst iswocha, so here we are. She was the first one there. She sat down in the very front of the main building, hours before the service was even going to begin. She was dressed in all black with her cane by her side to help her walk. The church was filled to the brim with all kinds of people. One would think that this was a public funeral as there was so many people, but the man had so many friends throughout the year that a lot of them and their families that the church was able to be completely filled. All around the church were flowers and pictures of the recently deceased former number one hero. Millions all across the world mourned his passing, some more than others. She looked at the picture she had brought with her. It was of them on the day they graduated from UA. That was her favorite memory because it was also the day that they got together. And now he was gone. Never to come back. She sat there just staring at the pictures of him, just wishing that she had even just another day to be with him. Izuku wasn't even that old. He was only 59 years old, but being a hero and all the kinds of damage he did on himself caused all kinds of health problems not even healing quirks could help. He was just like All Might who he himself passed decades ago. She heard the sound of the doors opening. People started to come into the church. She must have been there for hours. A man, a woman, and their child sat down to the right of her on the bench. "Mom, are you all right?" the man asked Ochako, putting a hand on her shoulder trying to console her. "I won't lie to you, Toshinori. I'm not, but this is life. It happens to us all, but I just have to keep my head high for as long as I can," she sighed, leaning back into her seat looking at the ceiling of the church. "I'm sure Dad would want you to do that." He gave her a hug and soon the ceremony began. Many gave their words and shared memories of Izuku. And soon it was coming to an end. And now we will be heading outside to lay Izuku Midoriya, also known as many as the former pro, to rest. But before we do that, Mrs. Midoriya will like to have a few words, the priest spoke before stepping down to allow Ochako to the stand. She stood up from her seat and with the help of her son, Toshinori. She faces the crowd of the crew who had their eyes all on her waiting for her speech. "I honestly don't think there is much I can say now that I never told him myself. I loved Deku so much. And I still to this day don't understand why he loved me. I wasn't the strongest in school. I wasn't the smartest, and I really don't think I was the smartest. But him loving me only made me love him even more." She began her speech and she was already having her tears fall down. She looked in the back and saw some of her friends with their own children and grandkids as well. Most of them were pretty upset. Iida was crying the most of them, and even Bakugo had his head down. She swore she saw him shed a couple of tears. He is going to be missed. I already do, and I'm sure many of you do as well. She paused to take off her glasses and wipe away her tears before putting them back on. But I ask everyone here to always remember him in a positive light and to never forget all the good he did. Thank you. She stepped down and walked back to the bench with her son's help. After a bit more talking, everyone went outside for the burial. Everyone gathered around the area as the coffin was about to be lowered into the ground. They had a special shrine that was going to be placed on top once the ceremony ended. Ochako watched as the coffin was lowered carefully into the ground as some peaceful music was played. "Goodbye, Deku," she whispered as the coffin went out from her vision. That night and for the next 2 years, her bed that she shared with him was always cold. And 2 years later she too passed away. Toshinori watched as his mother's coffin was slowly lowered to the ground. His own wife stood close to him while he held onto his child's hand. He shed tears as both of his parents were now gone from this world. He wondered if the toll of them being heroes wasn't there, would they still be alive? Maybe. But at least he knew his parents did what they loved and hoped they were together now. Ochako looked up the stairs as she was reaching the top. It was a long walk and there was also the wait for the people ahead of her. She didn't recognize anyway. But as she reached the top she noticed that the gates of heaven were already open. Once she was too she saw there was someone standing there holding the door for her. Someone with green hair. Deku, she calmly said while slowly walking towards him. Welcome. You kept me waiting, he gave her his cute smile. Oh god, did she miss that? She ran right up and gave him a tight hug. I missed you so much. Ochako had no idea you could cry in heaven, but she just found out you apparently can. Shall we head inside? Our parents and some others have a feast ready. He took her hand in his. Is there mochi there? She asked with a smile. Of course, he chuckled a bit. Then let's go, and together they walked through the gates of heaven, to be together for all of entirety.